in the last stream, we were working on a couple of things, actually. We got some new machines from Thermal Expansion. We went on a bit of a detour. I wasn't quite expecting it to take us so long to get the refined iron or the refined steel ingots that we were making in the last stream, but we got them. We made them in the arc furnace, and we used them to make ourselves our first void ore miner, which is now sitting over in the overworld, mining out the ores. Now, it's not doing it particularly quickly, and if we look over here, you'll see we don't yet have enough of these iridium crystals to actually upgrade the void ore miner to the next tier and be able to, mine faster and upgrade it with speed modifiers. But we do have quite a few other ores as well. Now, currently, we're powering it with the culinary generator here. I would like, I think, to try and tap into our overworld power to power this, because you can see that even with all 16 speed upgrades here, the culinary generator isn't quite producing enough redstone flux to keep this going. And we are running out of apples very quickly as well. So, this is not going to last too much longer. We've already burned through over 2/3 of the apples available to us. And so, I would very much like to get power through from the end over into our void ore miner. Now, I think, chat, that I would also like to get my applied energistic system over in the overworld as well. And the easiest way for us to do that is via the use of the quantum ring, right? So, this guy right here, which is made up of ME quantum rings and ME quantum ring chambers. We need, I believe, 16 ME quantum rings and then 2 ME quantum link chambers to set up the 2 multi-blocks that allow you to basically transfer your AE2 system across a dimension. It basically would allow us to access our AE2 system here in the overworld. Now, to make all of that, we would need a lot of Certus quartz, because the 16 ME quantum rings would require 16 energy cells, and 16 energy cells each require 4 Certus quartz crystals on top of 4 fluix dust, which you guessed it requires even more Certus quartz crystals. And so if we're going to get anywhere near to making this, I think we're going to have to up our Certus quartz production. We do have a lot of Certus quartz in here from some previous mining, and we might even have enough to get us going on this. However, although I don't know, again, 16 multiplied by 4, and then multiplied by 4 again for the fluix crystals, it's a lot. We need a lot of Certus quartz. Basically, chat, what I'm thinking is that we should probably look to setting up the Nether orchid to allow us to get a constant supply of Certus quartz, right? Even if we do have enough to make all of the quantum rings today, we're going to want to make more items from applied energistics going forward, and so having a constant supply of Certus quartz, I think, is going to be pretty useful for us. So, the Nether orchid really isn't too difficult to make. We need 2 white, 2 red, and 1 pink petal, 1 pixie dust, 1 redstone root, and then a rune of pride and a rune of greed. Now, I did check before the stream, and I'm fairly certain that we have all of the runes required to make the runes that we need for the orchid. So if we look, for example, at the recipe for the rune of greed, this one is a rune of spring, a rune of water, and then 2 mana diamonds. And then the rune of pride is a rune of fire, a rune of summer, and 2 mana diamonds. And we do have the rune of summer, the rune of spring, the rune of fire, earth, air, and water. So we should be pretty much good to go on that. All we have to do is make a couple of mana diamonds. And given that we're closing in on 10,000 diamonds now, we should have more than enough to make that happen. We do, of course, need some more living rock for that as well, but we do have it ready to go. I did make a little bit more between streams as well. And the Wand of the Forest, that should be pretty much everything. So I don't think the orchid itself is going to be too hard for us to actually get. The difficult part is going to be actually providing mana to the orchid, because not only does it require a large amount of mana, much like the pre-existing orchid that we have, up here, but it also has to be placed down in the Nether. The orchid ignum will not work if you try and place it down in the overworld. So we're going to have to either generate mana in the Nether or generate mana in the overworld and move that mana through to the Nether. And I think of those two options, the easier of the two there is going to be to generate the mana here in the overworld and then move it through to the Nether. Boom! We get ourselves an orchid ignum. Nice. Now, much like with a lot of our other flowers these days, I think I will go ahead and upgrade that to a floating or a glimmering, floating flower if we can. And there we go. We get a floating orchid ignum. Nice. So, chat, I think what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to get rid of this little nether brick lava situation that we were using to make evil ingots here, because that is very much so not necessary anymore. And then I think that we should probably look to tapping in to the kind of third and final resource over here that we're currently not using. We're using the berries and the apples with our Gorilla flowers to make mana over here. We're using the wood as fuel over with our endo flames. The item that we're currently not using, of course, is leaves. And that takes us to a flower that I have mentioned, I think, a few times in the past, and that is the munchdew, this guy right here. And essentially all this does is it eats leaves and it produces mana. And given that we have so many bonsai pots full of saplings producing so many leaves, I think we might be able to run this potentially consistently, or at the very least very regularly. And so I think this is probably a good choice for us. Again, it's not too difficult to make. It's petals with a rune of gluttony. The rune of gluttony requires a rune of winter with a rune of fire and then 2 mana diamonds. This time around, we unfortunately don't have the rune of fire ready to go, but we do have the rune of water. We do have the rune of earth. We can get 2 blocks of snow and white wool. The only hard part on this is the cake. Hello, my friend. Thank you for your milk. It is very much appreciated. And that should, chat, basically be a cake there. Good to go? It is indeed. Nice. So let's see then if we don't have what it takes to make this gluttony room. It was 1 wool, 2 snow, and then I think it was like a rune of water and a rune of earth. Yeah, nice. And we're doing okay on mana. We should have more than enough mana for that. Boom. 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 And boom. And there we go. Nice. We have our munchdew. Much like with the orchid, I would very much so like if we could upgrade that to a floating flower, which I very much so believe that we can do. Okay. So the plan here, chat, is to place down the old munchdew. We'll probably put it down like right about here, in line with the other flowers. And then from there, we're going to use mechanical users to place down the leaves. And I think in this scenario, we probably actually want quite a few more mechanical users. I think ideally, we probably want maybe 8, like enough to fully surround the munchdew here. Because the way the munchdew works is it will start destroying, it's kind of made, I guess, to destroy trees or to eat the leaves off of trees. And then go from there. And so if we look at the Lexica Botania, we can kind of read a little bit about how that plays out. It says, generating the form of natural energy that is mana should be a pretty good process when done via living materials. By using the munchdew, any leaf near the flower will get munched up and converted into mana. It is to note, though, no samplings or any other items will be dropped from the leaves. This flower outputs a hefty amount of mana per tree eaten. However, if it finishes eating all of the available leaves when left without any, it'll take a break from doing so and will only be able to eat again after a bit over a minute. So it does mention trees there. We're of course not going to use any trees, but we can kind of work around that a little bit by making sure there are always leaves around. So it will only ever consume 1 leaf at a time. But if we put down enough mechanical users that are always placing leaves, we can kind of make sure that there are always leaves around, at which point the munchdew will just continually eat the leaves over and over and over and over and over again, and essentially never stop producing mana, which is kind of ideal. It means we're going to get the maximum amount of mana that we possibly can. I do think it's entirely possible that we do actually run out of leaves, because this thing does eat them quite fast, and I don't know if we're producing them that quick, but let's give it a go, shall we? So we do need some more redstone crystals, I think. And hopefully we have enough there. Not quite. We're out of levers, of all things. I think that's mostly because our draw for sticks is still down by the overclock generator. In fact, you know what? Real quick, chat. I do have to take a bit of a side tangent here because, for one, I would very much like to get my sticks back. And we can do that with the old packing tape. But for 2, I've also noticed between streams that I made a rather grave mistake. So where did my sticks go? They went... Oh, they went here, right? We've got these ender pearls now. I did wonder why that was the way it is. Okay, let me move these around again. So we'll get rid of... Oh, that's a... Yeah, you gotta use the packing tape, Isaac. Otherwise, they spew everywhere. Thankfully, they were just collected by the orchid. The bad news is that they were placed into the system and not into the corrected drawer. So they're just in my ME drives. That's fine. Yeah, if we put you back down like there, and then we put the draw for sticks right there. The mistake that I made is that when I moved the draw controller to automate clear, I didn't think to move the pipe right here. So all of the bonsai pots here that are making wood, sticks, leaves, saplings, and apples are currently not doing anything. Like all of the stuff that's being made is just being voided because it's actually not going anywhere. So what we could do in that case then is a temporary fix would be to just move the floating hopper hook. Like we could move this down in front of the draw controller and that would work. However, another fix that was recommended by somebody in the YouTube comments was to use a draw slave, that being this guy right here, or a controller slave even, which works in essentially the same way as a draw controller, or it kind of acts like a controller proxy. But essentially, I'm fairly certain that if I were to quickly grab a little bit of gold ore and make that into gold, what we should be able to do is place that down right here. It will still have the desired effect of connecting up the two sides of the drawers here, but it should also, and that's not the right block there, Isaac. But it should also allow all of the items from those drawers to still be pumped in. Yeah, you can see these are all now being pulled out. It's going to take a while to pull all of these out because there's a lot there and these don't pull out particularly fast, at least without speed upgrades. But that should continue to work and that should keep things going. And if we come back over here, we should now have enough sticks to make some more levers to make some more of the mechanical users. Of course, you don't necessarily need 8, but I think 8 is probably at least a good starting point for us. And essentially all I'm thinking, chat, is that we're going to put down one of these in kind of each of the blocks surrounding the munchdew. So essentially something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. We want to make sure that all of these are set to place block. And again, I think we're going to set these to upper left slot only. And to make sure they don't get filled up, I'm just going to fill the rest of these with cobblestone. That cobblestone's never going to be used or never going to be placed. It's just going to stop these guys filling up with leaves because we want all of the leaves in that upper left slot only to make sure that they actually get placed down, right? All right. So that should be basically good. It is. And then from there, I think what we're going to have to do is I think we're going to have to get another drawer, another storage drawer, because we do already, of course, have item conduits pulling out of all the drawers. But if we were to just pump the item conduits directly into the users here, they'd pump everything, right? They'd pump apples, they'd pump wood, they'd pump leaves, and they'd pump sticks. That's not what we want. We want specifically just leaves. And so what we're probably going to do is set up kind of like an intermediary drawer. And I might even, just to get maximum usage here, I think I'm going to take one of these 2x2 drawers. That way what we can do, and I'll put it one block further forward so that it doesn't start filling up with random junk. But that way what we can do is we can take both wormwood leaves and mineral leaves, both of which I'm assuming work. Let me test that real quick. The reason this one's not working at the moment, I believe, is because the munchdew, like, when it destroyed the last leaf, it did a quick check, and because there were no other leaves, it just stopped working. If I do this, what I think we should see is as soon as the munchdew's kind of internal timer is done, it should basically eat all of these leaves fairly quickly. While we're waiting for that to happen, though, let's go ahead and make sure that both of these drawers here are set up. And let's also quickly grab the old draw key. Like so. At that point, we should then be able to run the old item conduits over and into it, like so. Make sure that is set to insert. And then, essentially from there, we're just going to pull out of this drawer directly up and around and into every single one of these mechanical users. We'll set this one to extract, always active, and round robin. So it's going to put leaves in each mechanical user one at a time. Nice. And so, as you can see, this is kind of now working as intended. Because there's always a leaf down for the munchdew to grab, it's going to keep grabbing the munchdews and keep making mana. Now, currently, it looks like that has managed to latch onto one of our pre-existing mana pools, or mana spreaders even, which is good. But yeah, and you'll see actually that it's producing too much mana. That's our next problem, because when the munchdew fills up on mana, it also stops. And it doesn't just stop until it has space, it stops for that kind of like 1 minute before it can go again, which is not really a huge problem. But it does mean that in an ideal world, we'd have a mana spreader that's capable of getting rid of the mana fast enough. And right now you'll see that even the upgraded Elven mana spreader isn't really fast enough. However, I guess that's not really a fair comparison because this one is also getting mana from the Gorilla Mist as well. But we will make a new Elven Mana Spreader, and we might even look at getting some lenses for the Mana Spreader as well to pull the mana just out of the munchdew faster. For now, though, let's go ahead and fill in the old floor here. So let's take another Elven Mana Spreader here, and let's make a new mana pool. This one I'm going to put over here, I think, for now. And we'll put the spreader like there, and we'll make sure that that is linked to here, and that this guy is linked to here. So we'll probably see the same thing. Yeah, even when it's not getting power from another flower, the Elven Mana Spreader is still not fast enough. And so that is where mana lenses actually come in quite helpful. So if we go ahead and hover over any mana lens and hit control there, we can open up the Lexicon Britannia, and you'll see in order to upgrade the potential of a mana spreader, one can apply a mana lens. The very basic mana lens does absolutely nothing. Lenses can be dyed. If we head on over the page here, again, the basic mana lens does not do anything, but there are not only fancy colors, but you can upgrade them with all sorts of materials to create new lenses, which can do all sorts of effects on the mana bursts that come out of the mana spreaders. If we head over, and again, we start with the first lens. The velocity lens will drastically increase the speed at which a mana burst travels, but not only does the beam start to lose mana a lot faster, it can also carry a bit less. So this one will take the mana, like the mana will travel faster from here to here, and by extension, that means that we are moving mana out faster because it can do more bursts in a set period of time. However, it sends less mana. I assume overall you are still moving mana faster. But the one that we're probably going to start with is the one after that, that being the Potency Lens, which will double the amount of mana that a mana burst can carry. However, the beams become slower, and after a little bit, it starts to lose mana, and it loses it a lot faster. So we have two. There are also more lenses, but we're going to focus on those first two. So you have a lens that increases the speed but reduces the mana that it can carry, and a lens that increases the amount it can carry but reduces the speed. Thankfully, the good old developers over at Britannia added in a way to combine those lenses to make a composite lens that has both the powers of the velocity and the potency lens, so it can not only move faster, but it can also travel with more mana as well. So let's see if we can't craft two empty mana lenses. We do need some mana steel for that, but we have almost 80,000 iron now, so getting more mana steel really shouldn't be too difficult for us. And then if we craft up two mana lenses, we can turn one of those mana lenses into a velocity lens with a rune of air, and we can turn one of them into a potency lens with a rune of fire. Now, if you combine those with a slime ball in the crafting table, like so, you create a composite mana lens of velocity and potency. And if we take that and just right-click it onto the front of our mana spreader, that should now be able to send more mana faster than it could before. The question is whether or not it can send it fast enough to keep up with a munchdew that's constantly eating all of the leaves that we have available. All right, it's going. And it looks like it's doing an okay job here. Like, you'll see the mana is no longer backing up in the munchdew there. Like, the munchdew is very much so empty. It could be backing up in here. But it looks like it's holding pretty steady. It's possible that there is an ever so slight increase. Like, it's possible it's going up very slightly. But it's going up, but if it is going up slightly, it's going to take a while for this to fill up. And so we are getting mana a lot faster now. Probably even faster than we're getting mana over there, to be honest, which is pretty nice. And again, you can see how fast it's tearing through the leaves here. Like, it needs so many leaves to keep this going. Thankfully, we do have a ton of them backlogged right now. We've got all these drawers that can all hold so many. And so we do have a lot in storage, but I do think it's very plausible that we're not going to have enough to keep it running like this all the time. It is going to keep producing mana forever, but it's not going to keep producing mana at this speed forever, I don't think, unless we put down more bonsai pots, which I don't think we're going to do just yet. So, now chat, the next predicament comes in the form of getting this mana from this mana pool to the Nether to use it with the old orchid ignum. And that is where we turn back to our good old friend, the mana tablet. This guy right here. The plan is to get ourselves at least one, maybe a few mana tablets, fill the mana tablets up here in the overworld, in this mana pool, and then using the power of end chests, specifically the ones from Ender Storage, we're going to transfer those full mana tablets through to the Nether, drop them in a mana pool in the Nether that's going to be near the Orchid Ignum to actually use it and produce Nether ores, and then from there we're going to have the empty mana tablet picked back up, sent around through the end chest to the overworld, dropped into this mana pool, and filled back up. That's the plan. So to do that, we're of course going to need at least one mana tablet. Like I said, we might get some more in the future, but for now one should do just fine. And I'm going to use open crates. We're going to have one open crate directly above this mana pool here. So that's going to drop the mana tablet into it. Mana tablets are quite unique in that they will never despawn. So even if you left this on the floor forever, it will never despawn. So we don't have to worry about not having enough mana to fill it up or anything like that. It will just always stay spawned in. And so what I'm thinking, the best way to do this is going to be well, let's first make some end chests, I guess. Yeah, the end chests are pretty easy to make, and we almost have everything it takes to make them. We just need a little bit of wool here. Perfect. And I will set this to a custom color as well in a second. But I think the easiest way to get the mana tablet out of the mana pool for us is going to be with the vacuum chest from Ender.io. This guy is also pretty easy to make. It requires one regular chest, some iron, and then a pulsating crystal. The pulsating crystal we've made a few times already, and we can make 2 of those nice and easily. From there, we should also be able to make 2 regular chests, and therefore 2 vacuum chests. Nice. So by default, the way these work is they will just suck up any item that you throw on the ground. So if I start throwing diamonds around, all those diamonds will get sucked up and pulled towards the vacuum chest. It does have a max range. Right now it's set to 6. You can lower that if you'd like, all the way down to 1. For now, we're going to leave it at 6 because what we're also going to do is we're going to use an advanced filter to specifically say that we only want empty or full mana tablets being filled up. It does have to be an advanced filter because we do have to specify that we only want the mana tablet once it's full or once it's empty. If you try and use a basic filter, it won't take the NBT data into account and therefore won't actually work. It'll just pull it up all of the time, which is not what we want. Now, unfortunately, if we're going to get an advanced item filter, we need a Z logic controller, which is easy enough to make, but does require a slice and splice, and the slice and splice does require another one of those soul machine chassis, which are a little pricey, but I think should be pretty doable. So Stonebent, Solar Tune Die, Symbol Machine Chassis, and PCB. Make sure that that gets all the way up to 4 and a bit bars of pressure. And there we go. So, back on over here, we should now, I think, have pretty much everything it takes to make the old slice and splice here. We're missing 4 Solarium ingots, which again is just soul sand and gold, so that really shouldn't be too difficult for us, but as is becoming kind of a reoccurring theme here, we do have to manually grab some gold ore and put it down on the floor here, which again kind of leads me to a bit of a tangent, but I think what we should do is, while that's processing, we should craft up, I think, another ME level emitter. And much like we have done with our clay and our sand, we should limit how much polymer clay is being used, or basically how much iron is being made, because we have 78,000 iron. And I really don't think we need to keep making more iron. Right now, the way our system is set up is it's set up in such a way that whenever we have glowstone, that glowstone is turned into gold, and whenever we have gold, that gold is turned into polymer clay. And that means that we never have any glowstone or gold, because it's all been turned into effectively into iron, which previously was fine, but now is a bit less useful. So I think what we'll do is right here we have the item conduit that is pulling polymer clay into the simulation chamber. I'm going to change this from extract always active to extract active with signal, and then we'll put the ME level emitter on the cable behind it if we can. So like right there. From there, if we grab some iron, all I'm going to say is if I can get to, if I can right click on that, which might be easier done over here, we're going to say emit a signal when below, and then let's say like 50,000. That's still a lot. We probably don't need that much, but essentially what should happen now is the polymer clay there is going to stay in that drawer, at least in terms of this simulation chamber. It's going to stay in the drawer until we have less than 50,000 iron, at which point the polymer clay is then going to start getting used again in the old simulation chamber here. But for now, I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and cover that up again. We probably do want to do a similar thing over on this side, maybe? Yeah. Because I think we're in a pretty similar position here. We have, like, obviously another conduit coming out on this side here. Right now, we're actually not turning our blaze matter into blaze rods, but that's also fine. I think what we'll do here, I don't think the ender pearls are going to be as big of an issue. Like, we have 15,000 of them. We also have 10,000 diamonds. I honestly don't think we're going to use 10,000 diamonds before the end of the series, but just for continuity here, I'll put down another ME level emitter on the back right about there. And then we'll again set this to extract active with signal. And this time around, what we'll do is we'll say you should emit a redstone signal when we have less than 1,000 diamonds. Again, I don't think we're going to use 8,000, so that might be just off for the rest of the playthrough here, but I think that's probably for the best. So now we shouldn't see a situation where all of our gold and all of our glowstone are being turned into polymer clay to make yet more iron, yet more ender pearls, and yet more diamonds when we have, 80,000 iron, 15,000 ender pearls, and 10,000 diamonds. Either way, tangent over, let's head back on over to our alloy smelter, grab the solarium, and craft up the old slice and splice. Perfect. I have also been thinking that, I've said it a few times, I think, that we should get a better place for our machines, because right now I keep picking machines up and putting them back down. And so for now, I am going to accidentally break a window and then temporarily pick things up and put them back down. But I think what I am going to do, chat, between streams is I'm going to move all of my machines probably over here. Like, I'm thinking we could have, maybe 5 machines here, and then we could put down some more potentially over on this side as well. We already have energy conduits in the floor here, so hooking that up really shouldn't be too difficult. For now, though, back over here, let's throw down the slice and splice. Let's grab a zombie head, as well as, I believe, 2 solarium ingots, along with... I have to filter, right? Yeah. Along with 2 silicon and a redstone. So silicon, we're actually surprisingly out of, but that's fine. I do assume you can use any silicon here. Yeah. Boom and boom. And then redstone. Nice. You do have to make sure you put an axe and some shears in here, and I think it does have to be like a regular Minecraft axe, and of course regular Minecraft shears. Those go in at the top, here and here, with a regular old capacitor. For now, we'll just steal that one. And boom. Nice. So we'll throw that back in there, and then let's see. We should now have what we need to make an advanced filter. We might need 2 of these, so I might have to make another Z-Logic controller a little later on in the stream. But for now, just to kind of show the proof of concept here, over here, we're going to put the filter into the vacuum chest, and that will make sure that it only picks up certain things, right? So in this scenario, we actually want it to pick up full mana tablets. So we're going to drop the mana tablet. Actually, let's turn this guy off for a second, active with signal. Let's put down this guy and make sure that's set to put mana into the tablet, which it is. So we should see the mana being pulled out of the mana pool into the mana tablet. And then once that is full, in here, we're going to go to edit filter settings. We're going to make sure that match metadata and match MBT are on, which they are by default. And we're going to make sure it's set to whitelist, which again, it is by default. And then if we put that in here, the full mana tablet, it should then only pick up mana tablets that are full, which I think this one now is. It is indeed. So in here, filter, full mana tablets. So now if I drop, my open crate, it doesn't get picked up. But if I drop my mana tablet, and I make sure this is set to active without signal, it gets picked up. Nice. So one thing we can do to test if this works is over here somewhere, we can set this one to pull mana out of the mana tablet, drop it in, and then if we take this one back, by default it shouldn't get picked up. It doesn't. But then if we drop it in here, we should see that after a second, it gets sucked up, right? As soon as it was full of mana, it gets pulled up into here. Quick little word of advice or word of warning if you're planning to duplicate this setup, make sure that your vacuum chest is above the mana pool, I did some testing on this, and every time I did it, I had my vacuum chest like down on the floor, but the mana tablet gets stuck on the mana pool walls and doesn't get pulled towards it. So it'll start moving this way, but then get stuck and just never go anywhere. So if you're going to do it, make sure the vacuum chest is above the mana pool, and at that point, it should work just fine. From there, of course, we're going to make some more item conduits. We're going to extract out of the old vacuum chest and into a ender chest, and I think we'll do it like this. Let's go ahead and color our ender chest. The Twitch chat has recommended, or has requested, I should say, that we go with an RGB color theme, and I'm all for it. So do we have our pestle and mortar in here? We do. Let's go with, and I'm also hoping that we can use floral fertilizer, or that we can use floral powder here. You can red, green, and blue. Perfect. I then believe that we can put a diamond on the front if we want to lock it. Perfect. So now what we should see happen if we go ahead and set this to extract always active, and we set this one up here to insert, is we should see the mana tablet being pulled out. But what we then want to do is we then want to have another item conduit that comes out here and down like this. Because what's going to happen, and if we grab our Yeta wrench, we can disconnect that kind of middle connection. I want to disconnect this connection here if I can. I can't wrench this middle bit. Oh, am I on the wrong? Oh, I need to be on item conduits. There we go. Shift and scroll. I was on fluid conduits in my previous work. Make sure you're on item conduits, and then you can right-click the middle to disconnect. But here, we do need another filter, because what we're going to do here is we're going to extract always active, but we want to filter to make sure that we only ever pull out empty mana tablets. So I think, chat, that I am going to have to get a total of 4 filters. We need 1 for each vacuum chest. We're going to have a vacuum chest here and a vacuum chest in the Nether. And then we also need an item filter on this item conduit here, and then the same item conduit in the Nether that's going to pull out full mana tablets, right? So I need 3 filters. Chat has pointed out very handily that much like we've done previously with conduit channels, we can do this, and over here we can set this one to insert on green, which means it's going to receive whatever is pulled out of the vacuum chest, because that is set to extract on green. Like there. And then we can also set it to extract on red. And then over here we can say insert on red. So that way the full mana tablet is going to go up into here, be stored. And then we're going to put a filter on the red extraction here, so it only pulls out empty mana tablets, which are then going to be sent around to the open crate, filled up, picked back up, and looped around again. So, like I said before, over here we're going to have this red channel set to filter out empty mana tablets. So we'll come back to that one in a second to actually configure the filter. For now, let's make sure that we have the required petals, that being red, green, and blue, so we can dye our other end chest. And in fact, we might as well dye it here, because it does retain its configuration when you pick it up. So if we just get the colors now, dye the chest red, green, and blue with the old diamond on the front. That should be connected. It is indeed. And so now, chat, if we head on through to the overworld, we should be able, I think, to set this up how we like. I do have to make sure I have a crate on me. And we need item conduits. But I think that should be everything. Yeah, let's go and see if we can't set this up. So I think we will set it up on the Nether roof. I'd like to set it up a little further away from the guys who are actively trying to attack me. But we'll do it like over here, I guess. So let's put down a mana pool. Let's put down the orchid ignim. That should connect to that mana pool. It has indeed. Perfect. We're then, of course, going to put down the open crate. Again, 1 block above, like so. And then, much like we did before, we're going to have the vacuum chest down right about there. We're going to make sure that we take off and reapply our rings so we can fly a bit. We're going to have the ender chest here. And by here, I of course mean actually 1 block further up. Here. And then the exact same thing again, like that. So, what we're going to do this time is I'm going to turn this guy off temporarily, and I'm going to say that up here, we're going to insert on green and we're going to extract on red. The extraction this time is once again going to be for a full mana tablet, and then we're going to insert red into there. So what should happen is advanced mana tablet. So if I put the mana tablet back in here, it should be pulled out and dropped into the mana pool. In an ideal world, as long as that is set to always active. There we go. We need to make sure this is set to pull the mana out, which it is by default. Perfect. Ooh, that's awkward. Because there's... Oh, okay. Let's move this. There is apparently netherrack beneath. Well, obviously there's netherrack beneath us here. Like, it's pulling that netherrack right there, which is not a huge issue, but it's also less than ideal. I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of get rid of all the netherrack down here if we can, with a quick vein mine, to try and just make sure it's not wasting mana on netherrack that we're not going to be using. It does have quite the large range, though, so we might have to get rid of quite a bit of netherrack for that to work. This now should be empty. It is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to... That's still going there. That's fine. We can waste a bit of mana. That's not a problem. But over here, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go item filter, edit filter settings, and this time we're going to set it to pick up empty mana tablets. And again, we're going to set that to always active. So now, when there's an empty mana tablet, it gets pulled in. We're then going to have that extract on green, always active, and insert up here on green. So now we should see the empty mana tablet in there. We do. Perfect. So back at home, what we're going to do is we're going to set up the final filter, which is on here. So this one is set to extract, and all we're going to do now is we're going to set it to extract empty mana tablets. So boom and boom, and the system should now be done. The mana tablet should be filled up here, sucked up, sent through to the other mana tablet, the other mana pool, dropped, emptied, sucked up, brought back over, dropped, filled up, sucked up, sent over, dropped, emptied, sucked up, brought over, dropped, filled up, sucked up, and vice versa. And it should go on forever, right? We do need to make sure that's set to always active. And there we go. Now, the only thing that is going to hold back how fast it can go is whether or not this mana pool can transfer mana fast enough. I think it can. I think we're going to be... Right now, with this system, I think we're able to transfer mana faster than the munchdew can produce it. Because this guy can move like a half second at a time. Someone in the Twitch chat does make the very good point that we do need. There you go. It's been sucked up. If we go /back, you should see it over in here getting dropped down. Hopefully. Someone does make... Yeah, there it is. Someone does make the very good point that we do, in an ideal world, want to have this area chunk loaded. So, let's do a quick /home. Let's, for the 100th time, get some gold. We can now, thankfully, put our gold away, right? Because we've set up the polymer clay to not get made if we have more than 50,000 iron. So we should be good for a little while here. And let's see if we can't make another weirding gadget, which is our chunk loader that we have. Nice. And if we put that down right about here, that should keep this area here chunk loaded to the point that, chat, that now what we should be able to do, of course, is much like in the overworld, we should be able to put down a mechanical user to place down the netherrack and then have a mechanical miner pick up that netherrack, and we should be good to go. Now, the only tricky part, I guess, now is that is getting more netherrack, right? Because while we can duplicate the netherrack using the Conjurer's Catalyst, there's not really an easy way to get the netherrack, like, automatically. Of course, we can go through and just mine a ton of netherrack. Like, that's very doable. And in fact, chat, I'm kind of contemplating swapping out, maybe just temporarily, but swapping out the firewood part of my axe to a non-firewood part so that we lose the auto-smelting, so I can go and just vein mine a ton of netherrack. We do already have, actually, quite a bit of netherrack, so maybe if we just grab a new drawer and place that over in the nether, we can just dispense that netherrack for the time being. And then for now, we'll just do mechanical miner, let's say right here, mechanical user, let's say right here. We'll have you place block, upper left slot only. For now, I guess I'll put like end iron ore there because I've got a stack of it. And then we'll do you, and you. Insert, and extract, always active. So that should be placing down netherrack. That netherrack does need to be configured. I'm actually a fool. Yeah, of course, I forgot that that's how this works. Let me go and grab, in that case, chat, the required parts. I think we will duplicate the setup that we have over here with a redstone reader and a block reader. So yeah, now this is going to work in the exact same way it did before. It's set to redstone on. We have the exact same setup where we have a card here linked to these cards in here that is basically set up to say that if this is not netherrack, then break it. And yeah, hopefully that's going to work. I think I have accidentally picked up this mana tablet here, which was not my intention. I'll put that back down to allow it to keep going. And yeah, that should do its thing. Like I said, I think we are going to burn through mana quite quickly. Because just like much like the other orchid we have, this one's going to start using, just a ton of resources. And over time, it's going to fill up. I think what I will do, in the interest of, giving us some in the interest of not banking it up, I think I will make another diamond chest. And for now, we'll have all of the items from that miner get pumped over into that diamond chest. Which for now, we can just put down like right about here. That way, there's a bunch of space there for all of the, Cetus quartz and all of the, other ores that are going to be produced, and not to mention nether silver as well, which is something we have been needing for quite some time now. So yeah, I think for now, I'm okay with having to fill this up manually. In the future, we might set up some kind of system to where, we have like an item reader that checks how much netherrack there is, and then if there is too little, it drops it, it takes the netherrack and drops it into like a mana pool with the duplication catalyst to get more netherrack and kind of duplicate it that way, duplicate it with mana. I'm not sure though. For now, like I say, what we could do is we could just take our firewood part off our pickaxe, therefore removing auto smelt, head down, mine a few thousand netherrack, and then just fill up the drawer, and that will, it'll keep it going for quite some time. For now, I'm going to leave this. We'll come back to that, I think, in the future, because I do, chat, want to look at setting up the quantum ring, right, to allow us to access our AE system in the overworld. That's kind of the whole reason why we started this. And so, if we're going to make the old quantum ring here, we need 16 ME quantum ring, which I will bookmark, and we need 2 ME quantum link chamber. Now, as mentioned before, to make that, we need a lot of stuff. So we're going to need 32 logic processors, of which we have 9. So let's get some gold going, I guess, over in here. More importantly than the gold processors, though, we're probably also going to want to get a ton of Cetus quartz. I should move you back over here as well. I am hopeful that we have enough, but I'm not necessarily sure about that. We also need quite a lot of dense cable, a bunch of iron, which is fine. The energy cells are really what I think are going to tank us here. The quantum links are not too bad, but the energy cell does require more quartz glass, a ton of fluix crystals, and some fluix dust as well. So I'm not sure if we're going to have enough, chat, but we're going to try. Okay, so that's all the processes taken care of. The ME dense cable, I don't think is going to be too difficult. We do need 16 ME dense cable here, which is made with redstone, glowstone, and ME dense. Oh, we need ME smart dense cable. We need to make that from regular dense cable, which is made from 4 ME covered cable, which is normal cable. So if we're going to make 16 smart cable, that means that we need 64 ME covered cable, which means we need 64 regular cable with 64 wool. So wool, of course, we can get very easily using our fiber that we have even more of, I believe, downstairs. So I'll make a few stacks of that. We need 4 stacks specifically if we're going to get a 4 stack of wool here. Perfect. We can then craft that up with a stack of fluix to get a stack of covered cable, craft those up to get 16 dense covered cable, and then 16 redstone and glowstone gets us 16 smart dense covered cable. Nice. So now all we're missing, chat, are the 16 energy cells. So we need 16 quartz glass, which does require more nether quartz. We've got a bit already, but I think we're going to need even more than what we currently have. So we will use our mana pool for that. And we're also going to need even more glass, which is currently being cooked up over there. So let's get that crushing. And while that's crushing, let's go and duplicate this stuff. We then need, if we're going to get 16 of these, right now we can make 2. We need 14 more. We need like a stack of fluix dust. which is a stack of Flux crystals, which is 32 charged nether quartz, or 32 charged Certus quartz, 32 nether quartz, and 32 redstone. So how are we doing on charged Certus quartz? We're doing okay. We don't have a ton. I will put another 32 in here to get charged. We can start the process, though, by grabbing what we do have and running that through the old sag mill. And boom. Okay. So that should, chat, be 16 of those basically ready to go. Unfortunately, the energy cells, for whatever reason, don't go in by default. You have to put them in, but there we go. There is 16 ME quantum ring. We then need just 2 ME quantum link chamber. For that, we're going to need 8 Flux pearls, which means we're going to need, oh boy, 32 Flux crystals and 32 Flux dust. So basically another stack of Flux crystals, which is 32 more charged Certus quartz, 32 more redstone, and 32 more regular quartz. Yeah, the Twitch chat does make a very good point that if we need 32 Flux dust anyways. We'll get the 32 Flux dust. But if we basically just turn 16 of these into Flux dust, we can then craft them with sand to effectively duplicate them, right? So if we take, for example, some sand and 16 Flux dust, we can make 32 Flux seeds, which we can then very rapidly grow in our chamber here, especially if we take some of these speed upgrades out over here. And that effectively doubles them into the pure variant, much like we've been doing with our regular Certus quartz. And that works out really well for things like this, because you can use the pure Flux crystals for this. So let's see if we can't make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. And at that point, we should have everything that it takes to make 2 of those. Beautiful. So the way these work, chat, and we do have to find a place to put it. I think for now I'm going to put it down like right here. Although I think I will move it in the future because this is a bit of a janky place for it. But essentially, if you do something like this, you get the multi-block, right? And we're going to build the same thing over in the overworld. And you can run cabling to it, and it basically allows you to connect the ME system in the end with the ME system in another dimension. For us, it's going to be the overworld. Now, to connect them, we need some quantum entangled singularities. We have to make 1 regular singularity and 1 ender dust, and then drop it down and use TNT next to it. Now, the regular singularity, this guy right here, is made in a matter condenser with a 64K ME storage component and I believe 260,000, is it? Of any given item? We'll see in just a second here. Let me see if I can't make a matter condenser. We can indeed. It's a very easy item to make. However, it does require 1 Flux dust. Boom. And then, yeah, if we look in here, you have to place down a 64K cell, and then you have to fill that 64K cell with basically anything. We will probably use cobblestone, simply because that's the easiest for us to get right now. But let's see. So if we're going to make a 64K ME storage component, we need 3 16K, which means we need 9 4K, which means we need 27 1K ME storage components, which means 27 logic circuits, as well as whatever 27 multiplied by 4 is, 108 Certus quartz, which is just shy, of course, of 2 stacks of Certus quartz there. Boom, and boom. Nice. So you put that in over here, and we'll put it in this slot here. You'll see right now it's set to destroy items. We want it set to condense into singularities. So we need 256,000 items if we're going to make this happen. And I think that the easiest way for us to do that is going to be over here by our cobblestone generator. So we're going to put this down right about there, and we're going to put in the 64K ME storage cell. We're going to say condense into singularity, and you'll see that slowly but surely, that number there is like creeping up to 256,000. This, chat, is where our good old friend, the speed upgrades, come to our rescue. Because now, if we head back through to the overworld, and we grab the 16 speed upgrades that were powering this, but this is now done. And unfortunately, we still don't have enough erodium crystals, so that is quite the pain. But if we grab those, we should be able to make this a bit faster. I still don't think it's going to be that fast. But yeah, if we put in the 16 speed upgrades here, we should see this number going up quite a bit faster. Yeah, it's still going to take a while. And so it might not be a terrible idea, chat, for us to look at potentially upgrading to some of these ultimate speed upgrades. How many drops of evil do we have? We have 40 drops of evil, which means that we could, if we wanted to, make 10 of these ultimate speed upgrades. I've mentioned it before. The ultimate speed upgrades are actually not any better than the previous tier of speed upgrades, or the normal speed upgrades. There are 3 tiers: regular, magical, and ultimate. They all do the same thing. The only benefit to the higher tiers is that you can use more of them. So the tier that we're using here, the magical speed upgrade, you can only put 16 in any given machine, whereas the ultimate tier you can put up to 64 in. Putting 16 ultimate speed upgrades in here would have the same effect as putting in 16 magical. So all the tiers are exactly the same. The only thing that's different about them is how many of them you can use. So for now, chat, this might just have to be the speed at which we go. It got to 1,000 fairly quickly. It might take like 25 minutes maybe to get up to 25,000. I'm actually not quite sure how fast we are getting the stuff here. Anyway, chat, that's what I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today. We'll come back tomorrow. Hopefully by that point, we'll have enough matter inside of that 64K ME drive to make a singularity. We'll connect up our 2 quantum rings, and we'll begin being able to access our system from the overworld and be able to actually like build a base out in the overworld while still being able to access all of our stuff and, you know, put down more machines and do all that kind of jazz as well. But now though, guys, thank you for watching.